In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get started using FloArena. We're going to go through setting up an event online and then how to test out your tournament before your tournament actually is here. So first we're going to head over to flowrestling.org and we're going to click on FloArena. Here you'll see all the events that are run on FloArena. Your event will show on here once you have it set up and it gets approved. One other thing I want to point out is if you have any questions or want some more in-depth information about how to use FloArena, you can search for FloArena demo videos. There's 44 different demo videos that kind of take you through each part of the system if you want some more information about any given feature of FloArena. FloArena works in the way that you set it up online. You can do registration online. When it's ready to run your event, you download FloArena locally onto a master computer at the event. All the MAT computers will then communicate to that master computer, and the master computer will continuously send updates online. Now the advantage of doing it this way is if the internet is really bad or slow or completely goes out at the school you're running the event at or at the venue, you can still continue to run your event. It's not going to affect your event at all if the internet would go out. Everything's going to communicate locally from the mats to the master computer, and then if the internet does go out, everything will continue to run as normal, and when it comes back, it'll just start continually pushing the updates online. Flow Wrestling also partners with Cap Wrestling for offering support to FloArena, and you can get there by capwrestling.com. If you feel uneasy about using FloArena, especially for your first tournament or so, I would recommend reaching out to them. They offer a number of different levels of support, and they're really great to work with. We work with them a lot on a lot of different tournaments. They run thousands of tournaments throughout the years, and they're a real good resource for helping you along with your tournament. Get started here. I'm going to go to my dashboard. If you're not, I'm already logged in. If you're not logged in, you can create a free account. It'll walk you through that and take you back to this page once you get logged in. So right here, my role is a registrant or a parent. Here's the tournaments that I've already registered for. If I'm a coach, I can manage my team, a roster, a calendar, security. There's other features here depending on the organization that your team is in. But for this demo, we're going to go under the event administrator. We can add a new event and start entering in the information. We're going to do event management and registration for this demo. So that will change the options that are available for this wizard. For this demo, I already have an event set up. I'm not going to go through each one of these steps. I think those are fairly self-explanatory. So I'm going to go through, I had another Marshfield Youth Tournament here. I actually cloned the event, so I didn't have to enter in all the information again from one year to the next. And it's currently in a pending status. As soon as this gets approved, it will show up on the Arena page. So since I have this event already set up, I'm taken to the event dashboard. If I want to get back to the configuration of each step, I can just simply click there and I can jump to any particular part of the wizard and update the configuration. Here I can see my online sales. I reused the bank account information that we had last year, so that's why I'm seeing amounts that we had for last year's tournament. We can continue to use the same bank account. Once registrations come in, I'll see pending money here, and then within 2 days it's available to be transferred. When there's money here, they'll see a transfer button. I can transfer that money to my account. If I don't do that and my event ends, it'll automatically be transferred to my account. I have an event info or registration link here. That will take me to a summary. So when I advertise my tournament, I'm going to advertise this link right here, which will give everyone an overview of the tournament, show them the map of where it's at. They can see the competition schedule, divisions, contacts, everything they need to know, as well as register. Register is not available quite yet. It's pending approval. You can also see the event status here. From online, I can manage all the wrestlers that have been registered. I can view the ones that have completed registration. I can view the ones that are in progress. I can see all the teams that have signed up. If there's any add-ons I'm selling, emails, I can send mass emails to everyone, parents who paid, not paid, custom people. So this is a good way. I send out an email for all the parents that have not paid yet, and couple days before registration ends and say, hey, I see you started registration, but didn't complete it. Otherwise, I send an email also to everyone after brackets are done, if we do the bracketing before, and just give them a link to where they can see the brackets. Users, if you have other people that are helping you manage the event, you can add them here. So for this demo, I want to go through, so now I have my event set up, and registration is open for that event as soon as it gets approved. But for this demo, now that it's set up, I want to make sure everything is working correctly at my event, and I'm familiar with the software and I know exactly what I need to do when the tournament comes around. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to download FloArena. That'll take me to a Dropbox. Here I can download the FloArena zip file. And then from here, I can also download the live score apps. So depending on the computer that is going to be at the mat, so live score is the program that is going to run on each individual mat. You technically don't have to do live scoring, but it's highly recommended. It makes things much smoother, and you can go completely paperless. You don't have to print out individual bout sheets. So depending what kind of computer you have on the mat, if it's a Chromebook, you can use the Live Score Chrome app. If it's like a Windows computer or a Mac or Linux, you can download the appropriate program depending on what you have. Now that we have FloArena downloaded, I'm going to head over to my downloads. It downloads as a zip file. I'm going to move that to my desktop, and then I'm just going to double click it, which will extract it. And here's the jar. Now on a Mac, if I try double clicking, it's going to give me a warning that it has unidentified developers, so it actually makes me right click, and then I can go ahead and open it. So now we just made our computer the master computer by running the jar file locally. As you can see, it's starting up. The very first time you open it, it'll take a little bit longer to get things initialized. After that, you'll see a connect button. Clicking the connect button will just open up a browser window. We highly recommend using Chrome as your browser. It is our most tested browser for any features that we use with FloArena, and things just seem to work so much better using Chrome. So coming back here, as I mentioned, this is now our master computer. We kind of refer to this sometimes as the head. If you notice down here, we have connection links. So if you have other people that you want to help manage the tournament, whether they're doing printing or helping you bracket or helping you enter wrestlers, all they need to do from their computer, as long as they're on the same network as this master computer, is they need to enter in this URL. Also, when we get to live score on the Mac computers, when you fire up live score, that computer also has to be connected to the exact same network that the master computer is on. It should auto detect the master computer and connect to it. Depending on the network setup, it's possible that it might not connect if broadcast is not enabled, in which case LiveScorer also has the option where you can put in the IP address of the master computer to connect. Okay, so to get to FloArena, from here everything we're going to do is straight from the web browser here. And this web browser basically talks back to the head, which pushes up all the updates online. As I mentioned previously, if the internet would stop working, everything will continue to run here. It's just a matter of it won't be able to push updates online. If you'll notice, I have a test server option here, and that's what we're going to do to create a test tournament and do our testing on. So that's just going to go to Flow Wrestling's development and staging environment. Nothing's going to be live at that point. It's not going to be your real tournament, so we're going to use that for testing today. When we're ready to run our live tournament, we're going to uncheck that and log in. And once we're logged in, we'll see two tabs: our downloaded events. Those are the events that we downloaded from online and they're running locally. And then we have available events. So these will be the events that you have access to. I see a ton of them because I'm an administrator, but from here you should see your event. If it's not in the date range, then just adjust the date range and search for it. Select the event, and then, or you can double click it, and then it'll ask you if you want to download it locally. Now, it's important not to download the event until after registration is closed. It's important to note that the sync is a one-way sync. So once you download your event, locally is now your primary data source. And if you update somebody's weight online through the data management, so say I was on my event dashboard and data management and adjusted some wrestlers here, they're not going to be reflected on the downloaded event. That's why I stress, after you download the event, do everything locally. And that's also why it's very important not to download your event until registration is actually closed. Now, that is also why we're going to go through testing events, so we're completely comfortable with running FloArena. We know exactly what to do prior to your event. I also want to note, just like downloading a tournament, that you're only going to do that on one computer. We're only going to run this jar file on one computer as well, and we're just going to connect to this one computer from this IP address. If you run the jar file from multiple computers, we could run into some major conflicts and issues if we have two master computers at the event. Okay, so before we download our real event, we want to test it out, make sure we have everything set up, we feel comfortable with it, and know what we're doing. So I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log into the test server. So from here, I'm just going to add a new event. This weekend. And create. And you also notice I get a big bar saying it's a test event. If you're ready to run your normal tournament and you see this test event here, you know you are not in the right spot. I also want to go back and just show you when I log in, it's now listed on my downloaded events. And if I wanted to show the bout board from another computer, say I want to put it up on a projection screen, something like that, I can get to the bout board right here without logging in. So I would connect to another computer via the connection link here, log in, and then I can just open up the bout board. You don't have any mats or any bouts set up, so nothing's there yet. Alright, so I'm just going to double click on this, get back into our event. And from here you'll see a bunch of different tabs, and I'll go through each one of these briefly. So for the setup an event, that's just our basic information. You do have the option to disable the online sync. That should not be done 99% of the time. Just leave all these settings alone for the most part. You can also open the bulk board here as well. Well, basically what we're going to do is just go down the list here. So for divisions, so if I'm going to enter in, depending on how you want to set up your test tournament, if you have a spreadsheet of data, which we do in this case, I'm just going to import that. If you do not and you want to manually enter your athletes, you can set up your divisions, create your divisions here, and then jump over to data management. And from here, it has a list of wrestlers or teams, basically all the core data to run your event is listed under data management. If you want other people to help you run your event, you can do that here. Just add a user. If they're an existing Flow user, you can check that, enter their email address, and then give them the appropriate permissions. If you just want them to be able to log in locally without running the Flow event, or I'm sorry, without being a Flow user, you can do that as well. Give them a username and password, and then when they log in, an important thing to note is when they log in, I'm just going to open up a new tab here. Oh, I guess I'm going to log out regardless. There's an option to log in locally. So when you add somebody, a local user, via this way, they're not a Flow user, that is how you do it. You make sure when they log in, they have to select they're going to log into the local network. And then they'll be able to see the events that you have downloaded locally. I can also log in locally as well, since I have it downloaded under my account. Okay. So to go back to wrestlers, I can go ahead and add a wrestler, enter in all their information here. There's lots of different things that you can enter. I'm going to do a bulk import instead of entering in everybody individually. Ask me if the first row is column names. Yes. Here, if I want to change a column name, so here this Excel file already has weight classes set up for each athlete. I'm going to not map that one because I want to generate weight classes on the fly. You can also import seeding or skill levels, team state, seeding criteria, all kinds of stuff. So import now, and when you import the file, it auto creates the divisions for you if you have the divisions set up, which is very nice. So now I imported 530 wrestlers. If I want to edit anybody, I can just come in here, click the edit button, and everything is here. Teams, there's a lot of different options in here, so there's 64 teams. You can add a team. If I want to just see if one team, I can do that here. I want to just check out all player wrestlers. There, Gilman, you get the point. If I want to enter their weight and edit it, if I'm searching for wrestlers, I can do that here. First name or last name, and that filters my list of players. Alright, let's get back to the setup. Now my divisions were auto-created when I imported the wrestler list. I have the option to publish, so this will publish or control publishing the brackets online or not. You also notice it's set up with the default profile of high school. So since I'm going to run a youth tournament here, I'm going to go to the settings, and I'm going to change each period to 1 minute. And then rest between matches to 5 minutes, or you can just disable it if you want. And then I'm going to apply that to all divisions. other divisions are all set up with 1-minute periods. One thing I also wanted to show you is I know we're going through a test tournament here, and it's going to be important to remember to do all these things when you get to the real tournament, depending on how much time you have to set it up. Me personally, I get kind of paranoid about forgetting things, and so I like to create myself a little checklist. And so I'd have like a prior to event, a bunch of things to do, like getting the laptops on each mat, make sure all plugged in. After online registration closes, to fix team names if there's a mixture of team names that are essentially the same team, download it, install FloArena, log in, and then setting up divisions, setting up division times. If you have a middle school division, they might have different match or period times for each mat. So basically, I went through each step and laid out what to do on each setup step here. And I also had printing and stuff like that, and starting the tournament. So whatever you want to put in your to-do list or things to remember is totally up to you. Just something that I wanted to show you that I've done in the past to help me remember. And actually, after I did this for the very first tournament I ran, after that I didn't even need this checklist anymore, because just looking through here, it was fairly self-explanatory. I just went down the line after each one and reviewed each thing, and that was good to go. Okay, now I just want to get back to weights. So now that we have everybody in the event, everyone's registered, I want to go ahead and create weight classes so we can get brackets created. So here I have my divisions on the left, so I just have this division selected, so that's why I'm going to see weight classes for that division, which we have no weight classes currently, but we have 111 unassigned wrestlers. And then over here we'll have the wrestlers in each selected weight class, and then who is assigned to a weight class. So I'm going to click on generate weight classes. Max per weight class, we'll do 4-man round robins for this. Max weight difference, I'm going to go to a magic number of 11. Now it's still going to bracket by closest weight. The only case that it's not going to try to bracket by the closest weight is when there's a skill level discrepancy, where it's trying to group together wrestlers that are in the same within the same skill level, and it also will try to keep teams away from each other as well. Now it says they've been created. Sometimes the screen doesn't populate, sometimes it does. So if I click off, click back on, you'll now see there's no unassigned wrestlers. They've all been assigned. If I want more room here, I can just click on these because I don't really need those a whole lot. It's mainly the number that you care about the most. So if I select any given weight class here, I can see like this weight class, there's only 2 people that are 37 pounds. And also there's 4 39-pound weight classes. So these weight classes right here are the highest weight. So if you see here, 34 or 37, the weight class name is 37 because that's the highest weight in that weight class. It also automatically fills in a min and max weight, which for this tournament it's not going to really matter much. So if I wanted to, I can select, so basically I want to go through, after I have these generated, and look at skill. I can also check them all. I can review the skill levels here, see how they compared. Actually looks like it did a pretty nice job. You won't always get perfect matches, but I try to do the best that I can. And so I like to go through here, look at the max number, or the number of wrestlers in each weight class. So most of these are all completely full brackets. On the edges here, we got this bracket only has 3 wrestlers. This one only has 2. If you want to look at combining them, I can just check both of them. And maybe do something like this. So this person has a Wisconsin Rapids wrestler, this one does as well. So in that case, I probably don't want to drag them up here. because I know I have two wrestlers from the same school. But if I wanted to, you can just drag and drop and move these wrestlers around. So say I wanted to add this person here, I can either add them or I can swap them with the person I dropped them on. Let's just do add. So everything is drag and drop between the weight classes. And just drag them back. You can collapse them. You can edit the wrestler directly from here as well. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm just going to go through each weight class, or sorry, each division, generate it. There, and now if we go through each division, everybody should be in a weight class. You can notice that by down here, unassigned wrestlers is 0. So I'm not going to go through all the fixing up of any of these weight classes. I will point out though, if you want to move wrestlers from one weight class, one division to another, which is sometimes needed. So this wrestler is only like 58 pounds, so he's super light. You might want to move them to a different, so these are all full, but you might want to create a 5-man bracket, for example. That's probably a bigger difference in age, depending what they want to do. It's totally up to you how you want to do it, but if you want, you can move them to a different division and then change your weight class to say the 62. So now the 62-pound weight class now has 5 wrestlers in it. And it also gives a warning that this person is below the minimum for that weight class. But not that big of a deal because I know I manually made that difference. So now this weight class has 0 wrestlers. If I want to remove that weight class, I can click the X. It does a countdown. Make sure you think about it twice. So now we have that one cleaned up. We also have this kid. Say he's going to wrestle down in the lower weight class. I can delete that weight class now. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to move kids around from different weight classes, see who's in a given weight class, and make any changes that you need to. Now, if you have a bigger tournament or you don't want to do all this work yourself because this can become somewhat time consuming and you want other people to help you, I would just point out once again the connection links here as well. Just connect another computer to the same network, enter in this URL, and they can log in and they can help you do the exact same thing that you're doing here. So you could assign one person to each division to do the bracketing and get through it, and once you have that done, then you can get running with your tournament pretty quickly. Okay, I'll also point out that if you notice I created a 5-man bracket here. Now the 5-mans have the two additional rounds. Every other bracket I have in here are 4-man round robins, so they're only going to have 3 rounds of wrestling. I'm going to show you in this tutorial as well how you can take your 5-man brackets and shuffle them within the 4-man rounds, and so to the table workers, they won't have to think about it. They probably won't even know that it's a 5-man round robin bracket. The tournament will just flow as it should, as if they were all the same amount of rounds in all the brackets. Otherwise, that always causes a lot of confusion. The 5-man round robins within a 4-man, if they got to start first, and then they got to be put in the middle of the first or second round, and then they got to end last. So it can get very confusing for the table workers as well as any parents. So I'll show you how you can kind of resolve that issue and automatically put them in the right spots. Okay, so if we go to rounds here, we don't have to do anything with rounds. That means basically allows you to change the display name of each round Tiers, not going to do anything with that. Seeding for round robin, we're not going to do anything with seeding. So now we'll get to the actual brackets. So start with, I'm just going to draw all the brackets. I select a division. It selects a phase. We're not going to do anything with phases for this event either. If I click on a bracket and scroll down, I can see that bracket. There's also, I can click on any athlete's name here as well. Replace them, swap them, replace with a by. So one thing to note is once we draw the brackets, these brackets are pretty much set as they are at the time of drawing. So if I would go in and let's pick someone here. If I would go in and withdraw I think Joe Cable here, if I would withdraw them from the bracket, they're still going to be in this bracket. I have to manually update this bracket once it's drawn. It's not going to be auto change when you change the athlete's information at this point. You could do it here, so you should withdraw them by clicking on them, withdraw, and then come back in here and then replace with a by. And this will eliminate from the tournament. Sure. So now it'll update the tournament or this bracket and replace those with a by. And it's now a 3-man bracket. One other feature here, you notice the team names, it's the wrestler's name, comma, team name. Sometimes that can get a bit long and run over. So what I like to do is go into options here. You can go into display options. So the first line, we're going to go first name, space, last name. And below that line, I'm going to show the team name. And apply this to all divisions. And I also, well, let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's what I want. So selecting different brackets, it's a lot easier to read when it's not meshed together. You'll notice the second one here is still abbreviated, the first name. It's not the same as the first line. So that's what we can see here in display option, the secondary line. If I want that to look the same. First name, last name, and then team name. All divisions, save. Click on the bracket, and now they all look the same. Okay, so now we have all of our brackets drawn. We can keep going down the list. Pools, not going to do anything with pools. Mats, we need to create our mats. So in this event, we're going to go 12 mats and auto create those. If I want to do them by letter, just check that and it'll change them automatically. So that's all I got to do for mats. So next is the assignment queues, and this is where we can assign bouts to a given queue. So think of a queue as like a box of bout sheets, and then you create a rule for bouts to be filled into that box, and then that box can be taken to any given mat. So for our youth tournament here, though, we're not going to manually create these rules because I want to automatically distribute the bouts across all the mats as evenly as I could to start with, based on the run times of each bracket. So what I'm going to do is click on rules by weight class. I'm going to get rid of the session name so that will prefix in front of the name of the queues. So here I can select my divisions. Actually, I noticed my division here, they're not quite in age order. If I want to change that, I can just go back to divisions, drag and drop them, and put them in the correct order, youngest to oldest. Go back here, auto balance. I'm going to check all of these, and I'm going to distribute them equally across all the mats. If I wanted to, I could create a rule just for the grade school kids, and then another rule for just the middle school kids, but for this case, I'm just going to do all of them equally. So I'm going to say balance, and then I can see what divisions are ending up on what mat. So it's going to starting with the youngest ages, and that's based off of the order of the divisions. So we could have changed that as well when we dragged that division to a different spot. So it starts from the top and works its way down to the older. So mat 12, for example, is the older kids. And then you can get an idea how long each one of those would take. So it distributes those evenly based on the run times of the brackets. So I'm just going to say make rules. So here it auto-created a queue and put this division with these weight classes in that for this queue. For this queue, it's going to be assigned this division and these weight classes, so on and so forth. Okay, so now that we have our rules set up, I'm going to execute the rules. You can see right here there's unassigned matches. We want to make sure we have all the matches assigned to a rule. So execute, and now we have 0, which is exactly what we want. So now we need to assign actual bout numbers. We don't have bout numbers quite yet for all the bouts in the brackets. We have them assigned to queues so we know where they're going to go. Or we basically group them together, essentially. We don't know, we haven't set what mats are going to go to quite yet. Even though it's labeled that, it's really just a queue name. We'll get to actually setting it to the actual mat in a little bit. So numbering, I'm going to start with, say, 100. And I'm going to select Q1. 200, Q2, and I'm just going to go down the line here. So then it's easy to see that if your bout number is in the 500s, for example, you're going to be on mat 5. If it's in the 300s, you're going to be on mat 3. Okay, so now we have our numbering rules. So if you're in Q1, you're going to be assigned a bout number starting at 100 on up. So same thing as assignment rules, you can see down here there's unnumbered bouts. That's not good. That means those bouts are not going to be wrestled. So we want to make sure every bout gets numbered. So execute all. Same as the assignments, we want to execute them. So now every bout has been assigned, or yeah, every bout on every bracket now has a bout number. I can verify that by going back to brackets, selecting the bracket, and coming down here, and now you can see the bout numbers are assigned accordingly. Now that I have bout numbers assigned, though, it's important to note that you should not rerun those assignment rules unless you knew exactly what is going to happen. So you might change a bracket from being a 4-man to a 5-man, or remove a bout, and then you come in here and you re-execute these rules. That could essentially renumber the entire tournament and everybody's bout number, which I've seen happen numerous times at events, and it causes a lot of confusion, especially when the parents write the numbers down or take a picture of it on their phone, and then now none of those numbers make any sense, and then they're confused on what mat they're on when they're up. So once you assign these numbers, I suggest you do not execute all if you've already publicized all the brackets and the bout numbers. Unless wrestling hasn't started yet, then you make an announcement and you say, hey, verify your bout numbers. That's probably fine. If we need to redo a bracket, we can do that manually in here. We can also view that bracket. What I like to do, so say that we have missing bout numbers here, and this kid is back. So let's go back and then find Joe Cable. I can just search here as well and find any wrestler. I'm going to make them not withdrawn. You can also search for bout numbers here, so if I want to find like bout 100 on that one, it's just a quick way to find any wrestler in the system. So now you can see there's 4 wrestlers here, but we're missing Joe here. That's because Joe was re-added. So I can come in here and say select wrestler, and I can select Joe. And now he fills in here. Another thing I could have done is redrawn the bracket. When I redraw the bracket, it's going to wipe out these bout numbers. So what I like to do is open up the bracket and kind of keep a copy of it. So I can do this again with the updated bracket. So I kind of go back and forth. So we're at 101. And we call these A bouts sometimes. So there's already going to be 102 assigned to the next bracket. Alright, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to say renumber. I'm going to say 101A. And then instead of 123 here, I'm going to go 122A. Just the one before each one of these. So they're going to fall in line. 145A. So you can do the same thing if you would happen to go from a 4-man to a 5-man where you're going to have extra rounds, extra bouts. You're going to have the same situation where you're going to have bouts in here that don't have bout numbers. And so I just want to caution you not to, if you've already started your tournament and advertise all the brackets and the bout numbers, not to come in here and re-execute all, which is a tempting way because it's real simple to do, but it causes a ton of confusion. So, like I showed you, before you make any changes, go to View, open up the bracket, the original bracket, so you have one to reference and know what the original bout numbers are, and then you can go in here and manually update the brackets, the bout numbers. Now you've only affected one bracket and not all of the brackets. Now if I come back in here, I might need to click off of it and re-on, and there's our updated bracket. Go to numbering, no unassigned bouts. So now that I did add essentially 3 bouts, I do need to assign them to queues because they were added after we ran these queues. So I'm just going to execute all on the queue rules. So basically we'll put them on the correct queues to go into the correct mat. Numbering is still 0. That's what we want. Assignment's 0. And now we can move on. Now, for numbering here, I do want to point out these options of justification. So, right justification basically means everybody is going to end at the same time. So if you have a mixture of a 4-man round robin and a 5-man round robin, and you're right justified, that means your 4-mans won't start until the 3rd round. So you're going to wrestle round 1 of the 5-mans, you're going to wrestle round 2 of the 5-mans, and then you're going to get the round 3 of the 5-mans, which would be the round 1 of the 4-mans. So basically, doing it this way, it makes sure everybody ends the final round of the tournament. If you have 5 rounds in your tournament, everyone's going to end at the same time. Whereas if you did left, everybody's going to start at the same time instead of finish at the same time. So everyone starts at the same time. The 4-mans and the 5-mans are both going to start at the same time. After the 3rd round, the 4-mans will be done. They can go home. And the 5-mans will have to continue to stay. They'll have those 2 extra rounds. So as I mentioned before, that causes a lot of confusion. You could end up with back-to-back situations where the 5-man wrestlers will have to wrestle one after another, which is usually not good and can cause confusion as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to kind of intermix the 5-man extra rounds with the 4-mans, and in order to do that, we're going to select custom round and then click on custom round order. Okay, and I went ahead and added my custom round order. So all I did is double click in there, enter the round name, and then it lets you pick the bracket sizes and the round. So I'll walk you through this. So round 0, I called it, is going to be for a bracket size of 6, which covers 5-mans as well, but essentially it's a 6-man bracket. You just have a bye in there. So that's going to be round 1 of the 6-mans is round 0. Round 1 is going to include bracket sizes of 2. They'll start round 1, 4 start round 1, and then bracket size of 6 will start their round 2 in the round 1 here. And so round 2 here is just moving on up. It'll be the second round of the 2-man brackets, second round of the 4-mans, third round of the 6-mans. Round 3 will be round 3 of the 2-mans, round 3 of the 4-mans, round 4 of the 6-mans. And then finally, we have round 5 of the 6-mans. Now, one thing that I realized we forgot to do is we could make this a little bit better. So if I close this and look at our bracket for our 62-pound weight that has 5 wrestlers, round 1 is 1,000, round 2 is 1,001, and then we got 1,004. So they're pretty close to going back to back from one round to the other round. Now, what we should do is, now assuming that we haven't published all the bout numbers yet, or we haven't started wrestling yet, and we can make this better yet, I can grab the 62-pound weight class and move it to the middle. So basically you want to take any 5-man bracket or 6-man and move them to the middle of the list of weight classes. That way they'll be staggered in the middle, and not, you don't have to worry about them ending up back to back from one round to the other round. Okay, so for my assignment's going to remain the same. They're still going to be on mat 10 here. But for numbering, I'm going to go ahead and I got to execute all in this case, so they will shuffle accordingly. So execute all, go to my brackets, and now look for my 62-man here, or 62-pound bracket, 5-man. Now we got round 1 ends on 1,001, and then it goes up to 1,020 for the next set of bout numbers for the next round. And so that's a little bit better stagger between rounds for them. So one thing that you would add on your to-do list is, before you do any assignments, look at the weights, grab any 5-mans and move them into the middle. If you don't have any 5-mans, you don't do any of this. If you are doing a 5-man round robin tournament and already plan on doing 5 rounds, you don't have to do any of this either. So this is just a case where you have to fit a 5-man bracket in with a 3-round tournament for 4-man round robins. Okay, so now I just double check my assignments. There's no unassigned matches. Everybody's assigned to a bout number. I got my custom rounds all set up. Now I can go down to team scoring. If I want to do team scoring, it's a lot like the other screens. I can just click inside the points and adjust the points. If you only want to assign points based on placements, you can just zero these out. If you want to do it across the board, right now it's broken down by division. Each division will be assigned or scored together. So I can just do all here, and then for each division, I want them to be fall under the all scoring group. So they're all going to be scored together for all these divisions. So I went ahead and went through each division and I cleared out all their bonus points and I just set their placement points for this tournament. And I also want to say score buys after never. Now you can change scoring per division, that's why the options are still per division, but when it calculates them per division, it's going to group them, it's going to basically sum them together for the all scoring group because they're all going to be scored under that group. So that's why you kind of got to go through each division and assign the points according to how you want that division set up. So I went through each one, I zeroed out all the points, and I set just the placement points on each one, and now I'm going through, as you can see, and changing the score buys after to never for round robin. I also changed my all group to have a maximum per group of 10. So that's going to take the 10 best scores of any team I have for this group and use them for the score for that team. So I don't have to keep track of each individual athlete. I don't have to hand pick my team. It's going to be more of a true best team. So it'll take the best wrestlers from each team, the best places from each team, and take the top 10 of each one of those teams and combine them. If you didn't want to take the top 10 for a given team and you do want to handpick specific athletes for a team, how you would do that is in data management here. The team score, by default, they're all checked, so we'd have to remove those from each person on a team, and then we'd probably do is just go to a given team, say Anago here, and for one, they don't have enough to make a full team anyways. If it's 10, whatever it is, if somebody's not, it should not be a team scorer on a team, you can just uncheck them. But usually there's only a set of teams that enter to be a team at your tournament, and so they would be the only ones that would count anyways. So it uses this team score. If this is not checked, they're not going to be counted as team score. And you can do this, I mean, however you want. This is pretty flexible, and you can recalculate scores. So after your tournament, maybe things didn't quite lay out the way you wanted them or expected them. You can go through and adjust these points however you'd like, and then just recalculate scores. So you can view team scores in a couple different places. For one, you can see them on the dashboard. If you change your scoring group to all, since they're all part of that group, Westfield here, you can see they already have a score of 10, and they haven't even started yet. Now, if I look at Print Manager, for example, Print Manager will list out each division and then each round and show you if it's complete. So it's one easy way to find out kind of maybe if one's already done. Well, it looks like there was a one-man bracket at 171 pounds. So that's where that team score would be from. If I look at the bracket here, and 171, there's only one wrestler, so they took first, so they got 10 points. You can also view the team scores in a bit more detail by going to Reports. Team Scores Report will list out each team, and then it'll also show the placements for each place, or how many placed. Okay, now we have everything set up. We went through setup, we went through each one of these setup options, configured it as we want for our tournament, and now we have our brackets assigned to bout numbers and team scores set up, and we are ready to go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to queues here. So queues is pretty much where you'll live most of the tournament, I would say, as an administrator. From here is our queue names, or our queue names are named the same as our mats. And so this queue is going to be for mat 1, 2, and so on. So what I'm going to do is just assign. I can select multiple, actually, if Q2 was going to be assigned to mats 2, 3, and 4, I could do it like that. I'm not going to do that for this because we have a 1-for-1. Oops. Okay, so now we have a mat assigned to every single cue here. And I can just make sure they match up each number. Now to start off our tournament, so right now these are all the mats that we have, and they're sitting there with no bouts on them. Now as soon as I hit play, it's going to has to be confirmed, and it's going to go through each one, and it's going to assign the bout numbers from each cue to each mat. So now we just took the box of bout sheets that we had for the cue, and we took the top 3 of them and we put them out on the mat. Now if you want to do all of them at once, that's possible as well. Right now the default is 3, so your bout depth that gets assigned is all set to 3. So if I go back to my cues, you can also drag and drop anywhere in here. So if I wanted 102 to be wrestled before 101 on the mat, I can just drag and drop it up. If I want 103 to be going on mat 2, I can just drag it up there, and now bout 103 is going to be assigned to mat 2. But I don't really want to do that for this case, but just to show you that you can drag and drop bouts all around your, or say mat 1 is really far behind and mat 2 is almost done. You'll see that by these bout numbers are going to get, this list is going to get smaller and smaller as the tournament goes on. It's going to be really easy to see that mat 2 is way ahead of mat 1, for example. In which case, you can come in here, you can select multiple, and you can just drag them over and put them on mat 2. Now these bouts are going to be wrestled on mat 2. Now they are still there. Let's put them back to mat 1. Even though I dragged them down here, they're still assigned there. I can come in here and say remove from mat. Now they're not actually assigned to that mat, or I could just drag them down as well. Okay, so now let's go to the mat computer. So if I come back over to the event dashboard here, click on download FloArena again, taking me back over to Dropbox, click on live score apps. For this demo, I'm going to demo the live score Chrome app. Just select that and download it. Now that that's downloaded, I can extract that to a folder and then go to my extensions in Chrome. And then I'm just going to take that folder and I'm just going to drop it into Chrome here. And so that'll actually install that Chrome app as an extension in my Chrome browser. So I'm just going to go back over to my Chrome apps, so Chrome://apps, and here it is, live score Chrome app. Select that. So right here you can see enter arena IP. So if it didn't auto detect, so it scanned the network, checked to see if it found a running FloArena version. It did, so it auto selected it. And now I can see the 12 mats I have for my mat. I can choose what mat I'm sitting at. I'll just choose mat 1 and I'll say start scoring. Now you might also notice this opened up in the background, so it auto detected I had multiple monitors connected to my computer, and it auto opens this, it's called the virtual clock. So this is what you would display on an exterior monitor. This would be pointed towards the ref and the fans. Typically you want this maximized, you can just click anywhere in here, double click it, and it will maximize it to your screen. if you close it or say it didn't open, I'm going to close this for now. If you want to get back to that virtual clock, there's a menu down here. Connect to virtual clock, and here it is again. So you can drag that to another monitor and maximize it. Now for the virtual clock here, I'm not going to go through all of its functions. I'm going to show you a better tutorial video that's pretty in-depth. It takes good 10-15 minutes to go through all of its functionality, but the core functionality is you can do this all with your keyboard and 3 keys, which is your down arrow. Oh, we got to load up a mat. So if I go to Bout, double click on the Bout, I can select the Bout here and continue. And you notice that is the same list of bouts that I have here. And you also notice that my mat turned green. That's because live score is connected to this mat. And so I know that mat 1 is up and running. So bout 100 is the first bout, and that is the first bout that I selected. If you wanted to swap wrestlers, you can just double click them and ask you if you want to swap colors. And now to start the clock, I can do it from here, or just hit the down arrow and hit the down arrow again. We'll stop it. If it's going, I can click the left arrow twice if red scored, and then red scored twice. If green got an escape, just hit the right arrow once. If I hit green twice, he gets 2 takedown. If I hit it twice again, he got 2 near fall. So you just hit the keys as many times as they scored. The system knows if they're on top or if they're on bottom and gives the appropriate points accordingly. So if I gave red 2 points in this example, he's on bottom. In that case, he would get a 2 reversal. So it's super easy to keep track of score, and you don't really have to even look down at the monitor. A lot of times a scorekeeper can just use those 3 keys, the down arrow to start and stop the clock, and then just watch the ref and use his left and right fingers to control those arrows. So now the clock ran out. It asked me who has choice. Say red takes top, and start the second period, and so on. And then after the match is finished, you can click on finish. You can select who actually won. It tries to make its best guess, but it's not always always obvious, not always correct. And so submit, and then it takes me back to the list of bouts. So now it's bout 101, continue, and so on. So as you can see, we're on bout 101 here. Now I want to show you how to get to the live score demo video that you can send out to all your table workers and make sure they watch it before the tournament starts so they know exactly how to operate live score come your tournament day. So just go to flowwrestling.org, and we're going to search for FloArena demo scoring. Now if you scroll down, you can see there's a number of different demo videos for different styles of wrestling to score: freestyle, college, Greco-Roman, and here is high school. This is the video for the youth tournament that you can send out. Okay, now we are completely ready we can run our entire event at this point. Everything is distributed out to the mats or assigned to the mats, and your tournament will continue to flow as the matches are scored. Now one last possible piece, certainly not required, completely optional, is Print Manager here. So if you wanted to print the award brackets in a number of different sizes, you have the option to go to Setup here. You can configure what paper size you want to print to. Say go 8.5 by 11 in landscape. You can change background image. So the center image is the Flow Wrestling wave. You can create any image that you want. if you come in here, select the template, you can select all that are complete. Remember we had that one bracket that only had one person in it, so that one was auto selected here. So I'm going to select all that are complete, and then I want to print a word bracket. And here is my bracket that I can print out. So it creates a PDF version of it. And I would suggest your background image is transparent a little bit so you can at least read the rest of the bracket pretty easily. And you can put whatever you want on here. This is an old image, it has last year's date on it, but you can put whatever you want. So that is how you can print a word brackets. You can also print wall charts from here as well. You come in here, select all, and print a wall chart. And then you could print out these and you could hang them on the walls for people to go through each bracket and see where their kids are. And that concludes this demo video of how to use FloArena. To reiterate, once you're ready to run your real tournament, make sure you uncheck test server. I'm going to log in as Arena. You could also log in as local network as well. Since you already have a tournament downloaded, it'll still let you in. So now you're pointed to the production system. Go to your available events, find your event, and download it, and then go through the same steps that we just went through. One last piece that I did not touch on this demo video is the fan side of things. So on Flow Wrestling on Arena, when your event is approved, it will be listed here. And once you have brackets, or once you release the list of wrestlers to the public, you'll be able to click on your event. And then once you are in the event, if I go to a historical one here, once you're in the event, you can get to the brackets and the results and the teams. And this will also have the live tiles on it as well as your tournament is going using the live score.